I mean, if you're not doing something musically moving, what is politics about? A left wing or a progressive place? It's about moving society on. You should want to move society on in all aspects, in its culture too, right? So, I mean, we were just, as you probably know, we were just so against the notion of Britpop. Still am. I still consider it, the whole concept of it, a terrible, terrible thing for British music.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Episode 75 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. We have Steve from Asian Dub Foundation on later, so that's exciting. For that, what's everyone been up to? Luke, what have you been doing this week?
Oh man, I dread these questions because I don't do anything. I've been I know nothing, man. Reading books, listening to records. I tell you what, I haven't been sleeping very well this week. That's something I've been not doing, is sleeping.
Why? You should go to sleep.
I do, or I wake up early.
ASMR.
To sleep.
Have you tried ASMR?
No, like friends have like recommended different like supplements and shit. Like someone's recommended melatonin. Someone else recommended St. John's wort. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Have you tried having a wank?
I mean, that's par for the course. Yeah. Yeah.
That's supposed to make you tired.
Yeah.
What is St. John's wort? Is it a wort?
Yeah, it's just like it's a bottle of loads of John's worts.
Yeah. You just have to swallow them. Which John, though? John Major?
Could be John Major. I don't know many Johns. John Lennon.
Johnny Rotten. John Lennon. There's so many Johns.
I think it's any John. It works with any John.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about it, really. Not sleeping.
Sleep's important.
Hey, I know, man. I know. How about you? So you're back from the land of sunshine?
Back from the sunshine. Although the sunshine's followed me back, it's been sunnier since I've been back. It's not as bad as everyone made out. It feels all right here. It's not too cold.
Yeah, we've had snow here.
Oh, wow.
That's what he claims. There are some
Did you make a snowman?
peaks near Berwick.
Yeah, we went up the local mountains and went sledging on Saturday.
Oh,
It's not
wow.
really a
That
mountain.
enough snow to do that?
It's
Yeah,
not a mountain.
on the hills.
He's making it out like it's sort of Mount Fuji or something. It's not. It's a little hill.
It's a foothill.
But it did have some snow on it.
I reckon I want to make it known as a mountain. You know, like in that film. Get it
What would you
designated
call
as
it?
a mountain.
Mount what?
Mount Dave.
Well, we could keep the same name, just be Mount in front of it.
What's the name?
What's the name of the hill?
Windover.
Oh, Mount
Ah,
Windover.
okay.
That's got a ring to it.
Yeah.
Mount
Yeah.
Windover. Yeah, I like that.
All right. Get on it.
There we go. Let's get on the case.
Well, I've got something that's happened that's really made me annoyed. On Friday, my son, he's nearly 18, but not quite. Him and his friends went to a gig in Brighton.
Did they?
Well, they tried to, so they bought a ticket. And
Who was it?
I can't remember the name. So his friend's cousin is a rapper, and he was doing a gig in Brighton. So they went.
Oh, that's
Oh, yeah.
quite good.
They weren't allowed in
Why?
because they weren't 18.
Yeah, some pubs have that. But I don't know. I think they
What
used to
kind
have
of
it
venue
back
was
in
it?
the day.
It wasn't a pub. I think it was something affiliated with the university. They weren't allowed in because they were too young. But how are young people meant to go and see gigs?
Yeah, that's shit.
There
isn't
you
it?
go.
I mean, I guess it's just because it serves alcohol, I guess. But there must be like,
Yeah, but they always did, didn't they?
yeah, I can't remember if I think some gigs were over 18s when we were youngsters, but I can't remember. What
But they
the
didn't care back
laws
then,
were.
right?
No.
Yeah, but they could still check at the bar if you try and order alcohol, can't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They've just tried to make it easier for that, but then they've just the downside is that anyone under 18 can't go and see gigs. So what's it going to do for the industry?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
shit.
it's not good, man. It's how the X on the back of their hand started in the straight edge scene. So lots of the punk kids wanted to go to gigs, but they weren't allowed because they were under 21. So they started putting an X on the back of their hand to show that they're under 18, so they can't be served at the bar. They can come in, but they can't get served alcohol.
Right.
And that became the kind of the straight edge mark, basically.
Yeah, that's a good
Music
idea.
history for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good idea. Self-regulating.
I remember I went to when I was living in Bristol, I went to this gig. I can't remember what it's like, a punk gig out in the middle of like, we like walked past like the dodgiest fucking areas possible. I remember like there was a girl standing outside the off license with a baseball bat that I walked past, and it was really fucking scary. And when we got there, instead of like a stamp on your hand, there was this big fucking skinhead geezer, and he just wrote the word cunt on my hand and let me into the gig. Oh man, it was,
Are you sure
it was very intimidating.
Wasn't doing it? I mean,
It's
you
probably
sure
not-
it was a code? He just wanted to tell you you're a
Yeah, it's
cunt.
probably nothing to do with
I'm
it.
100%. That's it's nothing to do with it. Yeah, he wrote different stuff on people's hands. I think he just wrote that on mine just to call me a cunt. It was scary, man.
That's good. I like that.
You know, you can cut this
Um,
bit out if you like, but you quite often look like you might be wanking under the desk.
And it's because I'm scratching my leg. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the euphemism.
Yeah.
Scratching your third leg.
Tell you what, like when I was, see, half my week was in Lanzarote, half my week was here. And I was in Lanzarote, I was having a stroll around the prom down there. It's really nice. And I listened to, it's the first time I listened to a whole album, from start to finish, about 20 years, I reckon.
What?
Yeah, I just don't do it anymore. Don't
Why
do it.
not?
Just I'm a
Attention
flicker.
span.
I flick between. I always have been.
Oh
My
man, if
attention
I turn an
span's
album
gone.
off before it's finished, that's like turning a film off before the end for me.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. So
Okay, go on.
I listened to User Illusion 2 in its entirety.
That's quite a long
and
album as well.
I remembered how good it was. Even though I'd listened to bits of it in that 20 years, I'd forgotten what a masterpiece it is in its entirety.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I should start listening to albums again.
I got to do it, man. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great album. It's a perfect summer album, I'd say. User Illusion 2,
Huh? Why?
which is weird, isn't it? You wouldn't think of Guns N' Roses as a summer band. I guess it just related to being young, sitting on the beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe. Don't know.
What was the best song on it that you forgot was the best song on it?
I've forgotten how good Civil War was.
Yeah, I was going to say
That's
the same thing.
Great song.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were watching that the other day. Sorry to interrupt your flow. Have you seen
The
that
film
film?
Civil War.
Yeah.
Civil
No.
War. No, I know what it is though. I haven't seen it.
Horrible.
No, yeah,
Could
that's
happen.
great. But I just like the album's really well recorded. I've forgotten how well produced it was, and just all the little bits in it, all the little talking bits and stuff in there. It's
Just samples and that, right?
Yeah, it's just a brilliant album. Strange, that's a great song, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty Tied Up. Is that on User Illusion 2?
Yes, that's on there.
Okay.
Locomotive.
Locomotion. Yeah. Yeah.
Not
it's good, eh?
locomotion, locomotive.
No. Imagine if Axl and Slash did the Locomotion.
It would have been their biggest hit, probably.
It would.
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to make that point on listening to albums. I should do it
Oh
more.
man, you gotta do it.
Dave, there must be some Berwick news you haven't told us about.
I've done my news.
You didn't give us any Berwick news, apart from you wanting to
Talks
rename a
about the
hill.
snow. That's Berwicky.
Nothing's happened with Lord Lloyd. He hasn't stopped you from roaming his land.
Hasn't been
The new-
resurrected.
the new
He's
owners.
dead, you Wally.
Not
Oh,
Lord
you mean
Lloyd,
the
but
new Lord
new-
Lloyd?
The new
Ah,
Lord Lloyd.
no, not
Have you
yet.
met him or her?
Not at the time.
Mm.
No, I haven't met him yet.
You should just go and have a fight. Just get it out there. Just show him your intent. Say, I am not leaving this land. But you state your claim.
Get in there first. Preemptive strike.
Get
Well,
in
I've
there
already
first.
walked on it with the dog.
There you go. Let him have
Good
a
on you.
shit on it. Let the dog have a shit on it.
You have a shit on it.
He shits on it every day.
You should join him. Dirty protest.
That's your homework for this week. Go and shit on the
It's the only
land.
language these people understand, Dave. You've got to tell it to them like it is.
They'll respect you for that. They will respect you for it.
Yes. Yeah, they will.
All right, I'll do it and report back.
Yeah,
All right.
brilliant. All right, so let's get on to this week's episode with Steve from Asian Dub Foundation. Should we do it?
Yes, man.
If you are watching this, then please do remember to subscribe to the channel, get involved in the comments, let us know your favourite Asian Dub Foundation tracks, albums, memories, all that sort of stuff, gigs. If you're listening, then please do rate and review because it really does help podcast get found, and share it with your friends. Also, you can now sponsor the podcast, which is exciting. If you're a band, you can get your band mentioned on the podcast. Luke might even do you a little review or something. He's good at that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but it will be honest though. Be warned, it will be honest.
We'll be honest, but that's all good. Or if you just want to put a dedication out to somebody that's someone's birthday, or if you're like a record label, get in touch. T-shirt sellers, anything really. Just helps us out with the editing costs and stuff. So that's all it is.
What costs?
Pay for what we're using now.
That's true. This we have
You
to
don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
involved in it, do you?
subscription, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All this technology that's just magics itself out of nowhere. I've paid for it. Just so you know, you can do that. Just send us an email or just send us a message and we'll get you on. Oh, and we've got an app now. So you can download that from the App Store. The Stupid app. Aptly named.
Yeah, I want to add new features. I'm waiting for people to come up with ideas.
There was some feedback for you, Dave, on the Facebook page about it.
I didn't see any. I saw the
Oh,
post.
what's
I
the
didn't
point of
see
people giving you
feedback.
feedback if you're not reading it?
Well, I haven't seen it. What is it?
It was quite good. It was really practical and detailed.
Yeah.
You should go and have a look.
ignored it.
Oh, yeah, I will.
It's on Facebook, I think.
So it doesn't just say this is shit.
No, no one said that yet.
No, there's some really useful stuff actually, and there's someone who obviously knows what they're talking about computer-wise. So yeah, have a read.
Yeah.
They were using
you'll
your
love
kind
it.
of jargon, man.
Yeah, you'll jizz all over
All
the
right, well, I
message.
look forward
'cause
to that.
It's in your sort of language.
Yeah, it was Michael on the Facebook group telling you to use a data graph or something, Dave.
Yeah, use a
A
fucking
graph
data graph.
database, sorry. A graph database in order to do this complicated stuff that he recommended, which still sounds great. The stuff he
I
said.
can't
sounds
believe you
really
haven't used a graph database already. I thought you fucking
Dave,
used a graph database.
graph database. This is fucking schoolboy error.
That's just, yeah. I could
Doesn't even have a
used graph database. But yeah, let's get into this week's episode with Steve from Asian Dub Foundation. I'll give you the first line of the Wikipedia. When I do this, it's only the first line that I do. It's just for a bit of hilarity.
Yeah.
English electronic music band. That's a bit vague, isn't it? Electronic music band.
Yeah. This is from the NME described them as political dub and bass punk, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
All right, so Asian Dub Foundation formed in London in 1993, but today's guest Steve, his music history goes quite back. I went quite down a rabbit hole, kind of looking into his musical past. He goes back to the mid '80s. It's
right.
It's good stuff, man. He was in a band called I need my glasses, called the Atom Spies, in the mid '80s, and they were like a art jazz punk kind of band. And he's singing and playing guitar. Really fucking cool. I listened to like 4 or 5 tracks. Just really, really good. Just no, maybe not 4 or 5, 2 or 3 tracks. Really good. Like do you know like James Chance or something like that? Like those kind of New York kind of new wave kind of art punky bands with like saxophone and stuff. Really, really cool. And he went under the name Chandra Blunt in that band, which is cool. But I could only find one 12-inch from 1987 on Discogs. He was then in a band called Headspace with Asian Dub Foundation member Dr. Das. Again, they only had one 12-inch in 93. Really cool stuff. And he was also in a band called, kind of collective called Higher Intelligence Agency, who put out loads of kind of early kind of ambient dub techno in the early 90s. And yeah, really good, man.
This is
really
all pre-Asian Dub Foundation.
This is all pre-Asian Dub Foundation, yeah, for Steve, yeah.
That band, Wire, he said he was offered a spot in. If I got the right one, that goes back to the 70s.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to know what wires sound like, then listen to Elastica.
Right. Okay.
So it's kind of famous, really, but they formed basically after there was like a community house. It's called Farringdon Community Music House, basically in London. And there's a documentary called Identical Beat filmed in '93, and they did like summer workshops to teach like local Asian kids how to use music technology. And the workshops were run by Dr. Das and John Pandit. It became Pandit G. They're just youth workers, basically, running these like summer courses.
Oh, well, they can't have been very old at the time.
Well, they're well, youth workers never are they? They're usually
No.
a couple of years older than the kids.
Yeah.
So during one of these kind of summer kind of courses in '93, they met a 15-year-old rapper, Dida Zaman, became Master D, and decided to do something proper with it and formed Asian Dub Foundation.
15.
And yeah, man, when you see like the old footage of him, he does look super young, man. He does.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So then, they recruited Steve. So his middle name, as he says, is Chandra Savale. Became Chandra Sonic, although he was called Chandra Sonic before he joined Asian Dub Foundation. The reason apparently was, I think when he was in the one of the bands before, Headspace, he I don't know why he's called Chandra Sonic, but apparently he tuned his guitar. You'll have to I don't understand this because I don't know about guitar tunings, but apparently he tuned his guitar to like one note, so it sounded like a sitar, and then you have to play it with a knife.
All right. Well, yeah. I don't know
Guess
much
it
about
made a
guitar
sonic-y
tuning.
noise, I guess.
Yeah,
So they called it Chandra Sonic.
A lot of people do tune their guitars to different sort of than the standard, and that's how they get their signature sounds. But I don't know much about it myself.
Dave,
I
you're
never
more the
got
guitar
involved in
technician.
detuning and all that sort of stuff.
Well, no, Guns N' Roses always tuned flat, one note flat, or one
Is that
half,
right?
one tone, down. I guess maybe it was to make the strings a little bit looser, so they're easier to
maybe.
bend. But I'm just
Yeah.
guessing.
A lot of bands do it just because it's to suit like the person's vocal and stuff, because they find it easier to sing over a certain. But yeah, I never get. I don't know, but yeah, I find all that stuff really fascinating, but I know nothing about it. Vince in the band, I think he used to detune his guitar sometimes, like for certain songs. I had no idea how he did it or why, but yeah, I think he did use.
Could you tell the difference when he did though?
Well, no, but obviously there was a difference. I wouldn't know what the difference was because I hadn't heard it without it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so they've had loads and loads of kind of different people over the years. If I start saying band members, doesn't really make sense because people kind of went in and out over the years. But kind of early kind of people that joined, a guy called Bubbly on a dancer, Sanjay as a second DJ, and this is kind of the early incarnation. They signed to Nation Records, who I was reading about in that Brimpool of Asia book. Basically, they're the label of the guy out of Fundamental. And do you remember Trans Global Underground?
Yes, I do. They played at my university Freshers' Ball.
Right. So they put out their records, Nation Records. And they became a bit like, I don't know, became a bit kind of wanky, kind of hippie, kind of Goa, kind of
they did.
World music, like middle class hippies got by it, didn't they?
They did.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They always played at that. They always played at that hippie festival that they had each year. What was it called? Not like the middle class hippie festival. What was it called?
Glastonbury.
No, it wasn't that. Not at the time. What was it called? It was every
what was
year.
it? Like tribal gathering.
It wasn't even
was
that,
a
I
proper
don't
one?
think. But yeah, there is that one.
Yeah.
What's it called? I can't remember. That's going to do my head in.
Answers on a postcard, listeners.
Yeah.
First album came out in '95, Facts and Fictions, on Rough Trade Records, interestingly. And started getting a good live reputation. He mentions it in the interview, but they kind of got taken under their wing by Primal Scream, who kind of loved them, basically. Talked about them in loads of interviews, took them on tour, and that kind of got them to the indie crowd.
Training from Primal Scream at that time.
Sure. Oh man, I'm sure it was good fun. Well, we can talk about it after because we talk about it quite a lot in the interview. But they started to kind of be embraced by the indie kids and the punks and the Enemy and that kind of people, which is interesting. They did a split with my guys, the Tory Teenage Riot, around this time as well. And basically getting a good live
Hang on, what's
reputation,
that?
building up momentum.
What's a split?
Split 7-inch.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
Well, I wasn't sure, so I thought I'd ask.
Mm.
What was in your head?
Well, that.
Okay.
I mean, I
so
thought
one
must
band
be
on one side, another band on the other. So second album came out in '98, Raffi's Revenge, which was actually a rejigged version of an album that they'd put out the year before, only in France though, that went nowhere. Called Raffi, R-A-F-I. Did really well. Got to number 20 in the charts. So big songs off there. Naxalite was the big single, which I bought when it came out. Buzzing, great song. Free Sat Pal Ram, Black White, all of these amazing tunes.
Great album. It's a great album.
It's really good. Yeah, man. Black White, written by Master D about his white girlfriend. So it's all about interracial relationships. It's cool. Apparently Buzzing is about like telling people not to be like a slacker. Don't be lazy. Just fucking get out and do shit, man. Don't sit at home doing fuck all. Exactly, man. But in a positive way, in a constructive way, right? Instead of just doing
not about buzzing your nut off.
Well, it could be about buzzing your nut off. Yeah. It's a great track.
It's good, isn't it? Buzzing your nut off.
Yeah. When was the last time you buzzed your nut off, Neil?
Probably Portugal. That's why I had to come home.
How long ago are we talking?
Not that long, really. About 12 years.
Yeah,
Not that long.
Did buzz. That's quite a while, to be fair.
Well, when's the last time you buzzed your nut
right
off?
Though? I don't know. I can't remember. Dave?
Longer than that. Dave, when did you last buzz your nut off?
Longer than that.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. Raffi's Revenge was also nominated for the Mercury Music Prize that year as well.
Get involved in the comments. Let us know. Let us know the last time you buzzed your nut off.
Yeah, please do.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. And provide photos if you can. Nominated for the Mercury Music Prize. Okay. Quiz question. Who won the Mercury Music Prize in 1998?
Badly Drawn Boy?
No. Good. I think that was 99.
Oh, 98.
Suede?
No. They it's amazing really. They kind of, they're still going, but they kind of came and got really quickly forgotten. I think they live in Brighton these days. We should get them on the podcast. They'd be a great guest.
Tell us who they are.
I'll give you a clue. 3 singers, which is unusual. 3 lead singers.
Chumbawamba.
They were super young, but they sounded like grizzled old blues kind of singers. Well, one of them did.
Oh, what were they called?
Not Gomez.
Hanson.
No. Oh, say Neil. Say it again.
Wasn't Gomez, was it?
It was Gomez. Gomez.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are they Brighton based now? Are they? Yeah, I like Gomez.
Yeah,
I think I've emailed them a couple of times. Yeah. What's that album called?
I think all of them are based in Brighton or Port Slade or something like that these days. So yeah.
Yeah, they were massive, weren't they, for a while? And then they sort of But they're still going now, aren't they?
Yeah, still going. Yeah.
You just said that.
Get them on, man.
Was it Tripping Daisy or something?
Whipping Piccadilly.
Whipping Piccadilly, that's it.
Tripping Daisy was a band.
Whipping Piccadilly, that's it.
But the amazing thing is I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's got the same syllables, isn't it?
Yeah. See, right, last week I was in this pub and I was talking to these pilots and
why?
This Irish American guy, and we were talking about music, of course. And he was talking about someone. He just did this gesture like this, and I knew exactly who he was talking about.
Do it again. Bay Medna.
For people listening, I'm doing 2 things, and I'm kind of putting it across like my face again. No, he was talking about Adam Ant.
Yeah, I just
course.
Yeah, but the thing is, I got it in a second, and I was like, Adam Ant. He's like, how the fuck did you know what I was talking about? So, well, Adam Ant. Do you want to know about the Sat Pal Ram case? Because we talk about it a little bit in the interview.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I read
give us an
about that.
update on it. Give us an update.
What do you
on
know? And I'll fill in the extra stuff, Dave. You say what you
it.
know.
I don't know.
Well, it sounded like I guess it's an Asian guy got into
Mm.
a brawl, but was picked on by
Mm.
some troublemakers.
Mm.
In self-defense, stabbed
Mm.
him with something,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he died, and then he got sent to prison for life.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So yeah, he was in a restaurant. 6 kind of white guys. Apparently they were like racially abusing the waiters, and they told him to turn off the Asian music. And apparently Satpal was like, turn it up, and then they attacked him with a broken bottle, and defended himself with a penknife, and the guy died from stab wounds. Well, killed the guy, right? And and then so he was arrested for murder, got convicted, but as well as that, he was kind of mistreated by the courts. There's all these talk of him being like tortured and stuff, like scars on his face and on his wrists where he was kind of beaten and tortured by the prison guards, and like the judge kind of fucked everything up like on purpose, and he was just basically, racially aggravated throughout the whole time of his incarceration, basically. Yeah.
Jack Straw wouldn't let him out.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was supposed to be paroled in 2000. Jack Straw said no. And then the European Court of Human Rights, which some fucking idiots are trying to get rid of, overruled Jack Straw and said, sorry, mate, you haven't got that power to do that. And so he was finally let out in 2002 after being in prison for 15 fucking years, man.
We don't need that court for human rights. Bollocks, isn't it?
No. So yeah, that's basically what happened. Yeah, and I read a couple of interviews with him just as he was kind of releasing stuff, and he mentioned, Asian Dub Foundation in his interviews and stuff. So they were a big part of it.
Yeah,
which is cool, right? And again, we talked about an interview, but yeah, I saw them around this about early 88, maybe late 97, basically, and used them as a case study in my dissertation for my degree. Toured America with the Beastie Boys around this time. Again, talks about it in the interview, so I won't say too much. Third album came out in 2000. Again, got to number 20 in the charts. It's probably their most well-known album, I guess. It's got Real Great Britain on there, New Way, New Life, Officer XX, about Stephen Lawrence case. Loads of good stuff on there. Another good description. I read the Enemy review of it at the time. They described it as British Asian ragged jungle band doing jump up dancehall Bollywood punk.
They just crammed everything in there.
Love it. And then the final, they gave it 10 out of 10. And the final line was, so Oasis had just released Standing on the Shoulders of Giants a few months
That's
before.
One of the worst albums.
So the final line of the review was, why stand on the shoulders of giants when you can dance on the toes of bigots? 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Which is a cool final line, man, from Roger Morton and the Enemy.
That's good.
I wish I'd bought that now instead of Standing on the Shoulders of Giants.
Standing on the shoulder of giants. There's a bit of an edge to it. Shoulder of giants.
Why is that an edge?
I don't know. They just knocked the S off. It didn't make the album any less shit, though.
No. What's on that? I don't know. What
exactly.
Oasis songs are on that?
Who cares? It's this awful album.
I think there's
I
one
think
or
even
two
Noel
ones
says
in
it's
there.
an awful album.
What's Fucking in the Bushes on? Is that on that?
Yeah, I think that's on. That might be on there.
Lola?
But that album came about when Giggsy and Bonehead were sort of leaving. I think Giggsy had already left. Noel plays all the bass on it, I think. But that's not why it's shit. It's just hasn't got any good songs on it. It's got like Gas Panic and stuff like that on it.
That's right. Okay.
It's all right. There's a few okay songs on it. But then shortly after that, they did that awful Wembley gig that I went to as well. That whole period is the worst Oasis bit, I think.
They just got a big following from thugs and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was
I went
just
to a gig around then, and it was just a really horrible bullying type atmosphere.
Yeah, it was when Liam would
around.
become sort of super arrogant, and it was just sort of swearing all through the gigs and stuff. I don't know. It's just it all become a bit chaotic and rubbish. Yeah. And then all the new fellas joined, and it's just not a fan.
Anyway, Master D left the group around this time. We talked about it a lot at the beginning of the interview. They did the live soundtrack to La Haine movie. I'll let him talk about it. Also around this time, 2002, Pandit G turned down an MBE. That's pretty cool,
that's
right?
brave, isn't it? That's
Yeah, yeah. And he said, if you want to support community, it was like services to, music and community and stuff. And he said, if you want to support community groups, then give them money, fund them, not bullshit fucking honors and awards that don't mean anything. So
Would you turn down an MBE?
Oh, completely.
Have
Would you?
done.
I mean, we're closer to getting an MBE now with this podcast than we were before.
Yeah. I would turn it down, wouldn't you?
Well,
Dave, you would. Come on.
I'd like to think I would, but I can't promise I would. You don't know. You might get all, swept off your feet by it.
Yeah, you might be seduced by it.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah. Well, you would, Neil, because you have no morals.
Honest. Oh, me? It's not a very nice thing to say.
He's got one.
It's not true. He's got one. Yes.
Yeah.
No wanking
I
before
think
9
I might
a.m.
get swept along by the whole having an accolade, I guess.
Yeah, you never know, right? I might do as well. You never know. Yeah, I'd like to think I wouldn't, but
yeah,
I'd quite like to have a look at his sausage fingers close up. So curiosity might get the better of me.
I would take some like hot dog buns, and when he went to shake my hand, I'd wrap them around his fingers.
That'd be brilliant.
It'd be worth getting an MBE just to do that.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Would you put ketchup on in the bun?
Get it pre-ready. Can't believe no one's done it already. Yeah, that's kind of their main. They've never stopped since then. So the fourth album, Enemy of the Enemy, Fortress Europe, big song from that. Fifth album, Tank, album. That album in 2020, Access Denied, kind of put them back on the map a little bit. Also, actually, the one before, More Signal, More Noise in 2015 was quite a big album as well.
Yeah, I remember that one.
They had the track with Stuart Lee as well on Access Denied, Coming Over Here.
We'll talk about that
brilliant.
Afterwards.
And then last year they had a kind of a compilation album of their collaborations over the years. So Iggy Pop, Sinead O'Connor, Primal Scream, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Chuck D, loads of cool people, and also featured new track Broken Britain with Chow Man, which is all about it's just before the election last year, right? It's all about the state of UK politics as it was last year. It's a brilliant album. And still touring, making music, and they're coming to Japan just next week. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get you on the guest list for that one. If they are listening before they read the email, then Luke wants to come along, get him on the guest list. We'd really appreciate it.
There you go, Asian Dub Foundation.
All right. Well, let's have a listen to the interview and then we'll have a chat after. Here's Steve from Asian Dub Foundation. Enjoy. Right. Thanks so much for coming. Is it Steve? Do you like to go by Steve these days, or do we still see Chandra Sonic?
Yeah, I don't mind either, really. Steve is what I was mostly. But Chandra's my middle name.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. But Chandra Sonic's a cool name, though.
Well, I mean,
it's pretty badass. Come on.
If you don't know the kind of the time when it was, there were I mean, we were kind of born as we were a post-acid house act. That was a big part of the genesis of the band, and everyone put. The reason I kind of got slightly iffy about the name because everyone at the time put Sonic on the end of everything. Sonic. I think it was a house act, isotonic and pentatonic and everything a sonic or a tonic, so sometimes I'm not sure. But if you didn't know that, then maybe it still sounds like a cool name.
Sure.
Where are you zooming in from? Where are you today?
I'm in South London.
South London.
South London, yes. Where are you guys?
Well, I'm down near Brighton.
All right.
And I'm in Tokyo.
You're in Tokyo?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lucky you. We're actually getting back to Tokyo in January.
I just saw you announce that. Yeah.
Yeah, first time in 11 years.
Oh,
I mean, we used to
great.
go every 2 years, 3 times a year, from 98 till 2013. It was
Wow.
it was amazing, really. So looking forward to going back.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, great. I'll try to get to one of those gigs. Great.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Are you on tour at the moment, Steve, or what's going on?
I'm I'm the 30-year-old veteran who's been on the road for 30 years. So I'm sort of
Haven't stopped.
dipping in and out of shows, actually. I'll be doing the Raw Festival Hall one without La Haine, where we do the rescore the film. I'll be doing
saw that.
Japan,
Yeah, looks great.
and I'll be doing all the British dates. So that'll be Bearded Theory, it's
nice.
next big British date. Raw Festival Hall is something different. That's the La Haine thing. Yeah, so I'll be on those for sure.
How did the La Haine thing come about?
Yeah, how do you put together something like that?
It's an incredible
Well,
film.
we've been doing it for 24 years now. Right. And musically, it hasn't really changed much. The format we do it, and we've got great musicians, obviously, playing it. So our playing of it has improved. But fundamentally, it's still the same. And no one seems to say, oh, it sounds old-fashioned or whatever. It just seems it's a project that just worked. And to be honest, it was one of those things where you say something, right? And then you don't realise what you've got yourself in for. There was a great guy actually called Alex Poots, who's a promoter. I think he did the Manchester Festival for a while, he did the New York Festival. He was doing a festival at the Barbican, and we're going back now, the end of year 2000, called Only Connect, which was a kind of film and music connect. It was fantastic, actually. You had things like Ennio Morricone playing there.
Wow.
You had Ornette Coleman playing along to Naked Lunch.
Wow.
I think it was that one. Yeah, or maybe that was later. I'm not sure. It could have been a later one. But basically, they wanted us to do some hookup with an avant-garde classical composer. And we listened to it. We didn't really like that. We couldn't really find a way in. Now, I'd just been to see someone, I don't know if you know him, he's called Scanner. He's a kind of experimental musician. His real name's Robin Rimbaud. And I'd been to see him do a live... People weren't doing this at the time. This was a very new thing.
No, yeah.
And I'd seen him do a version of Alphaville at the IMAX. And it was I don't think anybody likes it except me. I thought it was fantastic. But then I remembered that years ago, one of our friends had done a night at the Holloway, the Rocket in Holloway, called Old Films, New Music, where they put on a film and DJs would just play along, Harry Kay, he's called, and he was really good at it. He'd had guests like Tricky, people like that. And it wasn't particularly fixed or whatever, DJs would come just play, sometimes with reference to the film, sometimes not. And I basically said to Alex Boots, and I remembered at that time, I said, well, what film would ADF do? Oh, La Haine would be the one, and
Does work.
so I just said in an offhand thing, you know what, no, I don't think we'll do this avant-garde classical thing. We'll do a live soundtrack to La Haine. And he goes, okay. Then I went off for India for 2 weeks and came back, and it was everywhere, posters everywhere. And we hadn't written a note, basically. So a massive panic went in with people wanting to kill me. But we went round to my flat with our little sequences, and we literally wrote to the film, started putting it together in rehearsal, and it started to work. Right? Yeah. I mean, we did this from pure ignorance. None of us know anything about the mechanics of films. We worked along to the DVD, and I later found out after the show, DVDs run at 25 frames per second, and film runs at 24. So we literally got to the sound check, and all our stuff was finishing later than film.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah.
Huh.
So this is like 15 minutes before doors, right? And I just said to the guy, I didn't know anything about frame speed. And I said to the guy at the projector, can you speed it up a bit? He goes, yeah, I'll speed it up by a frame. Or no, or can you slow it down? Can you slow it down? Yeah, no, speed it up. Yeah. Speed it up by, and he said, I'll speed it up by a frame. And I didn't know what that meant. And then literally we did one 1 minute segment before we had to stop, and it was in time,
Wow.
And And it went down an
Probably,
absolute storm. It was really one of the best things we've ever done. And the Barbican was a great venue to do it. It was a sellout, about 2,000 people. Got great reviews everywhere. So we've been doing it ever since, you know. We've changed it a lot. We don't do it along with the film now. Now it all comes out, all the film and the backing music, all the beats and stuff comes out of my laptop, you know, which is very stressful. There you go.
So you've got control over everything now.
Yeah, I perhaps took a bit too much control over it, to be honest, but it still seems to work, and we've still done it all over the place. I mean, the next thing we did after that with it was David Bowie's Meltdown. You know, David Bowie asked us to do it a year later at the South Bank, you know, and that's where we're doing it again at the South Bank. So, which is nice, because I have memories of him, his Bowie.
Did you meet him?
Sadly missed.
Did you meet Bowie?
Oh, have I lost you?
Oh, hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get to meet David Bowie at that?
The connections, my internet connection is great for some reason. I'm not sure why. Why is that? Yeah, I've got you. You're there now.
Okay. I was just asking if you got to meet David Bowie at that time.
No, it's actually my big regret, and I have to admit, you know, I was a fan in the mid-70s. I bought Space Oddity when I was a kid when it was re-released to #1. And I was a big fan, even though I couldn't get in to see the film. I read the book of The Man Who Fell to Earth when I was about 12, and I was just really upset I couldn't see the film. You know, and it had the same cover as Low on the book, so I was into him on the science fiction tip. But he showed a great interest in us. He said he said Community Music was his favourite album of the year 2000. But I must admit, at that point, I was so into Asian Dub Foundation and the general viewpoint of Asian Dub Foundation. To be honest, Bowie wasn't really on our radar, you know, and I didn't think none of the other bands were into him at all. In fact, I'd say 2 people in the band hadn't even heard of him, right? Yeah, you see, you think that's impossible. You see, Asian Dub Foundation, we come from very different backgrounds, different environments, where I mean, Dida, I'll tell you a funny story. Dida, our vocalist, who was only like 15 when he joined the band, we were rehearsing in a place where Chris Jagger's record label was. Chris Jagger's younger brother, right? And he came in, and there was a poster of Chris Jagger's new album. Dida saw that. And I then realised that Dida and his friend didn't know who Mick Jagger was, right? They said, who's Mick Jagger? So they knew Chris Jagger by circumstance, but not Mick Jagger, right? So one thing is, it's a funny story, but it does point out a lot about Asian Dub Foundation, about the different backgrounds that we pulled together.
Let's talk about that. So what background did you come out of then, music-wise?
Musically, wow, God, now you're talking. Now, I could spend the whole of this interview talking about this. I finally found a way to make it succinct. My mother and father's first dates in the 1950s were Ravi Shankar, the classical sitar player, at Royal Festival Hall, and Buddy Holly at the London Palladium.
There you go.
Everything stems from that, you know.
Right.
My mum had little Richard 78s, you know, and my dad had the first record I remember is The Shadows, Shadows to the Fore, you know, and then always every Sunday we have Indian classical music and the Indian TV show that used to be on, and my dad used to record. In fact, there's the opening line of one of our songs called New Way, New Life. New Way, New Life is what Naya Zindagi Naya Jivan translates as. That's just the name of the program.
Right.
The first lines of the songs are every Sunday morning in front of the TV recording with a microphone Naya Zindagi. So as my dad used to, everyone had to go shh, and we recorded all the music from the Indian program for Asian viewers, it was called. You know, and a lot of the sources, the South Asian sources that I put into the band came from those tapes that my dad
did on
the TV show. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Okay, when I started, I mean, there's loads of influence. The mid-70s, when I really started taking music seriously, I only wanted music my ambition was to be a science fiction writer. I was a science fiction kid, a space kid. There are, larger reasons for that. Like TV, like Star Trek or UFO, that's where you saw black non-white people in equal positions, heroic positions. The only place on TV. Sure. So science fiction, a lot of other non-white people I've met have a massive love of science fiction. Marvel Comics, which said some really great things. The Black Panther was a character, my favourite character in the mid-70s. There you go. All these things, you don't know it as a kid, but you'd gravitate into things where you can identify with that are positive roles.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Spock being a mixed race alien, half human. Lieutenant Uhura, and that program UFO, where a lot of black women with pink hair run the moon base, all these things. So everything for me was science fiction orientated. So obviously I was going to buy Space Oddity. Yeah. I didn't realise, but the first few singles that I really went out and bought with great fervour were all reissues, right? And I bought them all for sound reasons, because they sounded futuristic and spacey. So I bought EGQ Park by the Small Faces, which has that phase drum. I loved the sound. I didn't know what it's called. Yeah. Good Vibrations, which is full of wild spacey sounds. So that was my first thing. And then when I got to my secondary school, I said, I like music with space. They said, you should check out this group called Pink Floyd. Right? I'm older than I look. Like, this was before punk happened. And so I went into a shop and saw that there was a record by Pink Floyd called Relics, which was only 50p, which is what I had in my pocket.
There you go.
So I bought it. Loved the opening tracks, which were all the Syd Barrett tracks. Right? I didn't realise. I looked in the credits. This guy Syd Barrett's on this one. This guy Syd Barrett's on these tracks. And then I read, he's on this other album. No, he was just in it for a year or something. And then I went and bought a double pack of Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Saucer Full of Secrets, which was 99p, right? And we just got a new stereo system, our first ever stereo system, put on Astronomy Domine and those guitars. That's it. I switched at that moment, subconsciously, semi-consciously, from wanting to be a sci-fi writer to wanting to be a guitarist, because I realised that you could go to space with your guitar.
Wow,
that's really
that's exactly what happened. Because if you the first time this kid had a stereo system, the guitars from Astronomy Domine, boom, bow, and this guitar, it's really underrated. If you listen to it from a guitar point of view, that first Pink Floyd album is absolutely outrageously good. Right?
Yeah.
Get all the kind of Lewis Carroll sort of, which I've never.
I can't get on board with that side of it. I can't. I can't.
But if you listen to the guitars, just the guitars, the tones that guy gets are really, really innovative, so unique. So he was my first influence as a guitar player. And when I got in bands, it was, post-punk was my thing, really. Joy Division, Gang of Four, Public Image. Yeah. And also that had a tie-in to dub reggae, obviously,
Sure.
With the effects and things like that. So this is my roots, really. And I was always open to developments in music. I was really excited by hip-hop when it came along. I bought all the original. I even saw African Bambaataa on his first British tour in 1984, which is nobody remembers, which is crazy. Siemens kits and samplers, and again, that's something that the British audience didn't like at the time, but I thought it was brilliant. But and then acid house, and then I gave up guitar for a couple of years, and basically Dr. Das asked me to come and play guitar, right, with Asian Dub Foundation, and it had melted by the radiator, But when I came to Asian Dub Foundation, I'd learnt all this other stuff, and I played the guitar with a different kind of sensibility, I developed a way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I developed a way of playing the guitar that goes along with beats, particularly jungle. Now, our first album, you're going to have to go a long way to show me that was the first, maybe the only album that took jungle rhythms, jungle breakbeats, and had live bass and live guitar on it, and it worked. Sure, you had live instruments with what later became drum and bass, like Ronnie Size, who was great, but it had a jazz
Square Pusher,
Yeah, Square Pusher and that, but that was kind of based on sort of, quite sophisticated jazz, whereas our stuff we called it jungle punk, and we're still doing that. No one else did it as far as I know, and no one else developed it like us. Plus, on top of that, you had all the music of our parents, you know, India, Bangladesh, the Punjabi stuff, you know, all diverse elements of South Asia, you know.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing sound. I mean, so how did you get labelled? Like when people started to write about you, how were they labelling you? Because it's almost impossible, right?
Well, I'm glad you say that. Actually, in some ways, I mean, because you see, what I've learned over the years is that when people hear something that they haven't heard before, most people, understandably, they say they look for other references. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, when we played jungle raves or raves, you know, which we did, we'd have guitar, live bass, and they're watching the DJ and they're going, oh, this is a DJ set with live instruments, right? You see what I mean? Right. So it's like, oh yeah, live instruments is the future of rave, you know, bringing live instruments. People saw us as a jungle drum and bass act, right? Or Asian underground, to be more specific, you know, which was a club-based thing, DJ-based thing. So when we played at, say, Anoka or something like that, yeah, it's obvious it's a band, but it was also with a club sound, you know, the bass breaks and stuff. Good work in a rave situation. So people saw it like that, the Asian underground. We were a drum and bass jungle act with a live act with live instruments, you know. Whereas, like when Primal Scream gave us all that fantastic support, people were coming to us not having seen anything like us before, so they actually said to focus on the guitar orientation. And the first reference people said was like Rage Against the Machine, because there was no other music that they knew that had a non-rock bassist, but that was quite aggressive and forceful. But none of us. I was the only person who'd heard Rage Against the Machine, and to be honest, until we started playing live with them, I was never that much of a fan. Actually, seeing them live, obviously, I kind of got some aspects of it that I thought were really good. You know, so people labelled us as that because we unwittingly. Someone wrote a review of us, and they said, "Oh, ADF definitely have the skills to pay the bills." So Dina put that in one of his raps. We didn't know that was actually on a Beastie Boys song, right?
Of course.
So when you say, "Oh, we got the skills to pay the bills," people think, "Oh, you're ripping off the Beastie Boys." You know, and we ended up supporting them in America as well, which is quite weird, really. These groups that people thought we were like, that we'd never listened to, or the majority of them never listened to, we ended up supporting. So that kind of reinforced the misunderstanding, if you see what I mean.
I mean, how was it touring with them? They were the coolest guys.
That was really one of the greatest experiences of my life. They were fantastic. In fact, they lulled us a bit into thinking, wow, this is what doing a big stadium tour is like. This is great. You know what I mean? We could go into their dressing room. They fed us. They paid us. I mean, you probably know that we have this thing in the music. It's called a buy-on, which we've never done.
What's that? Yeah. What's that?
A buy-on is where you basically... a big band goes out on tour stadium, and the record companies or bands will, well, if you let us come on, we'll pay you to do that, right? I mean, the band pays the main band to go on tour.
Fuck?
You didn't know that?
No, is this a thing?
Yeah. I've heard of that. Yeah,
it's a big
pay
thing.
To play, I guess. Right.
Yeah. You know, the idea is, well, we're a big band. You pay us to get the exposure. You know.
Yeah.
We never did that.
They were paying you.
They were paying us. They paying us. They transported our gear. Oh man, and they were just such great people as well.
Oh, it must have been amazing just to hang out with.
That was my first ever time in America.
Yeah,
oh wow!
Yeah.
So we literally did the thing. We did the dream.
Yeah,
Great out tour bus with beds, and we drove from bloody New York to LA, to Phoenix, Arizona. We drove through Cactus Land in Texas. It was unbelievable. It was also great fun. I mean, there were some mad things, you know, like they had a revolving stage, and there was another band called Rancid. You know Rancid?
Yeah.
They were on. We were the first support band. They were the second. So they got one half of the revolving stage. We got the other. Of course, it wasn't turned on, so you were only facing half the audience every night, right? So it was like, most of their gigs were like. And we're talking American stadiums, so you're talking anything between 15, 25,000, So we were getting like 10,000 one side, 10,000 the other. So what we did, we had one very long lead, so we took it in turns to use the long lead. So that we're playing one side, and it was my turn. I'm running round to the other side, to the other 10,000 people, literally playing by myself, and then Dr. Daz would do the same with his bass. And, I think Dina did it when we had a radio mic, just going out there. And it was such a good spirit, right? It
sounds fun.
So different to Britain. As soon as the lights went up, everybody cheered. And as soon as we came on, no one knew who the hell we were. Everyone cheered, big smiles,
How did it go down with the American audience? We
went really well. America went really well for us on the gig side. I mean, we blew up New York. We blew up the Troubadour. We did Bowery Ballroom. It smashed it, and Troubadour in LA, Seattle went. Virtually all of those guys. I remember Detroit was perhaps the only one Detroit was the only disappointing one, I think, and Boston was okay, but the rest of the gigs we blew up. But unfortunately, there was, we, like so many groups, especially when they hit America, became victims of a corporate shenanigans. Basically our record labels bought out, right? And the office where it was covered in yellow tape, right? So I mean, we were in the top 10 in the college radio charts and things like that. So no, we was in America was screwed for us by corporate, the corporate nature of the music industry in the late 90s. I don't know. There's a lot of that to tell you that story. I mean, America is very, very hard to get a foothold in for British acts, as you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's most bands. I mean, a lot of bands. I mean, Primals have never done that well in America.
True. A
lot of groups are big here and have massive, legacy here. Never sort of really did it in America.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. It's interesting what you were saying earlier about different people coming to ADF from different places. I mean, I definitely came there from as an indie kid. And,
yes.
I think
we were very happy about that. I was very happy about that because, I know a lot of people came up to me and said, I've never seen, guitar guitar in that context. It's changed my ideas about lots of music, And that's what we were about. We were about uniting different people through different music connections, It's a big thing.
I think the Naxalite single was the first time I was aware, and I went out and bought it. I mean, was that also when it started to take off for you as well? When you started hitting enemies?
Yeah. I mean, again, another thing, we had a lot of people in the scene, particularly the indie guitar scene and rock scene, really liked us. Brian Molko gave it a single of the week. I mean, honestly, we had to turn down a lot of support tools. We turned down Suede, we turned down Pearl Jam, we turned down Logan itself.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we thought we couldn't really be everybody's support band,
Yeah.
And also, how can I say this? I don't want to sound too negative, but being a big band support band isn't always a great experience. There are aspects of it.
I get that.
The technical side is often something that I mean, the Beastie Boys, we were spoiled, but other big shows where you're at the bottom of the bill, it can be quite straight, and you're almost like.
So is it better to be a medium headliner than a big band support band?
Well, for me personally, yeah, definitely. I mean, my favourite type of gigs are like 1,500 to 2,000, anything 1,000 to 2,000. I really, really like that kind of
good number.
Because, I mean, and it's good where you control it. You control it. You know what I mean? And you set it up. It's your thing. And we used to do a lot. Shepherd's Bush Empire a lot.
It's great,
really great, and Barbican and Festival Hall. Places like that. Those are my personal favourites. But every gig's different. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some of the support gigs we did were unbelievable. We did a couple with Rage in France that just went off. For us, and then a couple that didn't.
Yeah.
So you can never tell, really.
No. Yeah. All right. Can we talk about politics. I mean, the politics was there right from the start. I mean, which is more important, the music or the activism? I guess.
Well, I think that's I can see why people ask that question, but it's not how we approach it at all. You see, there is a politics of sound, you know. Our instrumentals, we think, said at the time anyway, said as much as the lyrical content, you know. I mean, if you're not doing something musically moving, you know, what is politics about a left wing or a progressive place? It's about moving society on. You want to move society on in all aspects, in its culture too, right? So, I mean, we were just, as you probably know, we were just so against the notion of Britpop, still am. I still consider it, the whole concept of it, a terrible, terrible thing for British music.
Why?
You know?
Why? Musically or culturally?
Well, the idea was, you know, that, you know, British musical tradition is, don't get me wrong, I love 60s music, right? I'm a huge Beatles, Who fan, and, you know, you know, the Who are the first songs I ever learned on guitar, so I'm not knocking that tradition, right? But I think reviving it and retrogression and saying this is British music, right? You know, white guys with guitars, right? And then everything else is other to that. In fact, Tracy Thorn wrote an article about it in that. I think she got it right. She said what it did was it kind of narrowed the definition of what British music was as being white guys with guitars, you know, playing, you know, rewrites of the Kinks, which is a lot of what this stuff was. And I found it offensive. I mean, what's the Beatles' legacy in music, right? It's not people sounding like the Beatles. It's people pushing music forwards, right? That's the legacy of it. So we used to put out flyers saying we are the real Britpop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
We are the summation. Well, you could make a case. I mean, you could say you sort of, you know, it's your opinion, but you know, at the time we are the summation of the British musical experience, not someone rewriting Waterloo Sunset. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like Dear Prudence, which one band wrote about 10 times, rewrote about 10 times. You know, and we were so opposed to it. We were very angry about it because, you know, what was tearing up the schools, the playgrounds, the sound systems all across Britain was jungle, right?
Yeah.
Which was just like the most radical new music form ever, right?
Yeah.
It was just totally original, right? It had no you could see the roots that went into it, but it was fast. It had the energy of punk. It had the dirt of like even like heavy metal. You know, it had reggae bass, but with distorted bass, and it had almost free sampled loops that were programmed like free jazz drums. This is absolutely unique, you know. And someone, you know, to his credit, David Bowie picked it up and said. He said what we were saying. He was saying, this is the real music that's going on. This is a whole new language. Sure, okay, Suede are copying me. That's fine. But the real music, the real thing that's going on is jungle. And also, funnily enough, he agreed with us about drum and bass, which was a slight kind of taming of that form. You know? So we were doing that. We were throwing in influences from our parents, but we were also basically, in effect, a post-punk band. We were Public Image, really. You know, that's his biggest influences as bassist and guitarist was Jar Wobble and Keith Levine, right?
Keith Levine, yeah.
So we were Jar Wobble and Keith Levine playing over jungle breakbeats and then adding the music of our parents in. Now I think that's a good case to say that is a summation of at least one really important sector of British society, which is the immigrant community, you know.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's
a really interesting point.
More interesting than Britpop, you know.
100%.
Yeah, in a way, that makes Britpop's sort of regressive in a way, and
completely in all aspects, it's completely regressive. There's nothing good about it at all for me. Oh, it's the worst. And when you think about it, what did we have in Britain? We had the fallout from rock and roll, you know, the Beatles, the Stones, what have you. Then we had psychedelia, for Christ's sake, you know, British psychedelia made some fantastic music. Then we had punk, which was a complete redressing of everything, and then which led to post-punk, which made totally unprecedented music. No one had done music like Gang of Four, Susie and the Banshees, Public Image. No one, you know. And then again, we had Acid House, which was another complete reforming of the whole of every taken for granted assumption about music. And what do we get a few years later? Well, let's rewrite Kinks songs and de-improve it 10 times.
Yeah, it's really
When you
interesting.
put it like
I
that,
think
you've made a good case.
I think jungle has been totally written out of the narrative of 90s music, right?
Yeah,
you're
because
totally right.
The public face of it, like Goldie and to a certain extent Ronnie Size, became drum and bass, and it's quite sophisticated music.
It's kind of it's almost coffee table-ish, wasn't it? It got diluted very quickly.
Yeah, that's not to knock it, because I think Ronnie Size is
same.
awesome, and live he was far. I mean, he did some really, really powerful, fast and crazy music. It was quite forceful music, you know. That came across live because he had a live band and they had real tension. Actually, it was very good at the time. But yeah, that jungle side. But it's been revived actually. Near Archives. I mean, that might not be the scene you know, but there has been a really great. I hesitated to call it a revival because it is a bit different. It's been spearheaded by a lot of women for a start. Near Archives, Pink Pantheress, to name a few.
Nice.
And also, they make the distinction more than was done at the time between jungle and drum and bass. I mean, I teach music. I have been teaching a music history class at the place where we started. I've continued my link community music. One of my students did a piece saying that she was part of this scene with Near Archives, and she considered drum and bass to be the gentrification of jungle. Which is, I thought, what? Wow, you know, I
like that.
I didn't think like that at the time, but hey, that's interesting the way people look back, and that division between jungle and drum and bass is something a lot of younger people are really who are discovering that music and developing it. They're really seeing, maybe it's interesting when you look back at music, you see you see it from a bird's eye view more.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, well, I was listening to the other day. And again, female kind of producer, Xylitol. That's kind of like jungle and ambient put together. And it just works totally well. Just so good. Yeah.
I don't think anyone really took our mantle up, not in this country anyway, with the live bass and guitar and jungle breakbeats.
No.
I don't think anyone did it. I don't think they did. If you listen to the track, if you have the time, you listen to a track called PKB on our first album.
All right. Well, we make a mixtape for every episode, so I'll put that on the mixtape for this show. So, all right, that's great. That's great. Back to the politics.
It's still relevant now, actually.
Well, okay. So back to the politics. I mean, the second thing I bought from Asian Dub Foundation was Free Sat Pal Ram. Oh yeah. And he was freed. I mean, how can you talk a little bit about that case and the song and everything and what happened?
Yeah, well, that was amazing how that happened. I mean, as someone we knew, Helen MacDonald, who's a singer, and she came to where we were rehearsing one day, and she said, "Well, I'm starting this campaign. We wondered if you wanted to get involved." We saw the elements of the case and the unfairness of the trial and the sentence and everything, and we wrote a song for it. Now, the funny thing about that song, I mean, that kind of broke us further in Britain. In a way, it wasn't really like our other song. That song was more like a kind of rap rock tune. The riff I come up with was very. It wasn't deliberate, but I listened back to it. It's very similar to the Public Enemy track. She watched Channel Zero. If you didn't know that,
right?
It's more that kind of thing, and probably reinforced the Rage Against the Machine comparisons. Yeah,
I was gonna say,
and you realise that actually that was quite an important song for us. I mean, it actually put down what can be done with music. Do you know what I mean? We had all kinds of people sign up for it. We had everybody signing up for the petition at the gigs, and and it really did make. I think it made a difference. Sat Pal thinks it makes a difference. I mean, what we did was we helped out at least sort of informationally and spiritually, I suppose, the campaign, and the people that did the real work, the lawyers and the human rights people, and our DJ, John Pandit, who was actually involved in that side of it, the actual, You know, the hard work of it, you know, getting together the papers, setting up a meeting with the Home Secretary and things like this. But, you know, we had people, Radiohead, Primal's got on board, loads of people got on board, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. I remember.
And he was released like early 2000s, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was kind of released on a legal kind of technicality, but he would never have had the backing to explore what could be done there. You know what I mean? Without a campaign, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I came to see you, and I think
lawyers, though, you know what I mean, not us.
Yeah, I think I came to see you late '97, early '98, maybe.
Really?
And I'm pretty sure I signed a petition, and there were over pamphlets and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, I guess that kind of thing works.
Well, a really fascinating thing about it was that, you know, it was released as a single.
Yeah.
And it put loads of when record companies did this, you know, they don't do it so much these days, I guess, but like they put thousands and thousands of posters around the country.
Right, so that's,
you know what I mean? It's like, wow.
Activism. Yeah.
Wow. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
That is like a guerrilla raid on I think. We similar sort of
it is.
a guerrilla inside guerrilla movement, you know, actually, well, we're using the tools of advertising.
Yeah.
Message across.
Yeah.
Also, you helped me pass my degree as well.
Really?
I did some data collection for my dissertation outside the concert after the gig. I was researching youth subculture. So, yeah.
There you go.
That's nice because I did a bit of statistics. That was my thing. So I'm really happy.
Right.
with that.
Yeah.
Political statistics was something I did explore when I was in college. But I'm glad that you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say, I wrote a dissertation.
No. Yeah.
Because sometimes I get the feeling that more people have written dissertations on us than bought our records, right?
There you go. You featured very heavily in mine. So,
the Asian diaspora, that kind of thing. You know?
I was more interested in the audience, like what kind of demographic goes to different kinds of concerts. But yeah. Also, I can't not mention Atari Teenage Riot, as you can see. The
Well, the split single, that was where people...
How did that come about?
First got played. It was a great thing. I can't remember the people who did it, but they did these split singles and 7 inches, which was there were less 7 inches around even then, weren't there? So it was a kind of nice thing that we shared with Atari Teenage Riot, which was great, you know. Yeah.
Did you ever get to speak to them, or?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. They're a pretty intense bunch, you know what I mean? We played with them a couple of times. And wow, I mean, where they were, it was really interesting where they were, because they were based around Mitte, which was the middle point where the Berlin Wall used to be. I mean, remember, it had only been 8 years when we did that. The Wall had fallen, so it was all really interesting places and loads going on. I mean, Berlin was always amazing, but you know, then and now actually it's still fantastic. So they were very much of that area of Berlin, you know, really.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Anyway, Neil, go over to you. Go on.
He's a great producer as well.
Oh man, I say I've always wanted to have him on the podcast, but I'm slightly scared.
I think you're fine, actually.
How did the collab come about with Stuart Lee? How did that all come about?
That's again one of those things that you can never learn as a musician. Actually, is that so often the best things that you do without thinking. Your own entertainment, no kind of.
It's a great collab for sure.
Yeah, but basically,
pretty well, doesn't it?
What happened was that we had this really good instrumental, didn't have any vocals for it. I went down to a festival, what's it called? Sea Change down in Devon. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
I mean, sure. I mean, I used to be quite a fan of the Nightingales, and I don't know if you know them. They're sort of Birmingham, sort of a bit like Birmingham's Answer to the Fall at one stage.
Right.
I'm a huge fan of, but Stuart had just made a film about. He's a huge fan of the Nightingales, right? And he just made a film about it. So he was down there introducing the film, introducing Robert Lloyd, the singer. So I went to see that, and then I remembered what is the greatest sketch of all time, which is Coming Over Here sketch.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I mean,
Brilliant.
I can't think of it. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. But
So
it's
bang
really
on.
great.
Bang on.
It's a work of genius. And I thought,
It really is. Yeah.
I'd be a bit of a laugh to put Stuart's sketch over that, you know, especially because we were coming up to Brexit as well. But, you know,
Yeah.
Fuck.
And basically I put it on and I said, oh yeah, well, we can't put that out, obviously we can't put that out, you know. And then sent it to the manager. He said, oh well, I know Stuart's people. And so he played it to Stuart and his people, and they loved it, right? So they gave us another recording of it, one that we could use, and listen, it took me about 3 hours to do it.
It's really
On my face all the way through. Now Nathan Flutebox Lee, our flute player, he kind of gave the basis of the beats that we used, you know. It just it's one that just fell into place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, what I love about it is you've got all Stuart Lee's chat, but the instrument is quite dark, isn't it? It's quite a dark sort of undertone to the music. That's what I think.
It's kind of like what I think that some people pointed out was there's not many records that you can have a laugh at, like your fist in the air at the same time.
That's it. Yeah,
You're laughing with your face, you're angry at the same time. You know,
so that's exactly that's it. Yeah.
There's also not many records made between bands and comedians that are like that. You know, I mean, you know, Dick Reeves and the Wonderstuff and whatever.
Yes.
It's a bit more sort of jovial, isn't it? Yeah.
Jovial, and you know, and it's like normally one usually detracts from the other. The music detracts from the comedy, a bit of the comedy detracts. That's been my experience. They're not funny for very long, you know. But I think this one, I mean, it's the biggest track we had since the late Britain, you know. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then we decided to do this lunatic idea. Well, let's go for the Christmas #1 with it. But we changed it to Brexit #1 the day that Britain left the EU, you know.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. That was just, you know, I mean, we got 1 million views on Twitter within a couple of weeks.
Yes.
That's the way
really
I got taught by a fantastic guy. He got in touch. He said, I'd like to help you out. Do you remember the Rage Against the Machine against Simon Cowell campaign?
Yes. Yeah.
John Morton, an amazing guy. He did that. And he just taught me how to do a Twitter campaign. Right?
Wow. Right.
Which
Maybe you could teach us.
I'm the most internet savvy person. But I'm now an expert. I was for a while until Musk changed it all. But
I
was an expert on doing Twitter campaigns, you know, and you know, I almost felt guilty because that was the height of COVID. I'm having the best time I've had for years with the band, and I said,
I think a lot of people enjoyed it, so it's all right.
well, no, that's it. People said, "Oh no, it's great. It's really cheered us up," you know, and I thought, wow, something to get excited about, something to join in, and hey, we're fighting back here, and we're having a laugh and a dance at the same time, which is ultimate. Well, I mean, ADF's all been about fighting back, but having a dance as well and having a party. But we added having a laugh to it this time. You know?
There you go. Yeah.
Emotional response. So that was absolutely good. That was a great thing. Stuart, man, Stuart's just brilliant. You know, I mean,
yeah. And then you have Broken Britain.
And he's a trooper as well. Because when we did the video, right, we were asking him to do something. It struck me the day before, and I started to panic because I just thought, God, he is a musician, but he's obviously not used to miming to something which was not literary, right? And it took him hours, but he just went for it and went for it. You know, even the slightest, you know, prima donna-ishness that you might have got, there was none of that there. They would have walked out. I can't do this. This is too difficult. It was really, really difficult what he did. You know, cut the voice because I'd just done it. I brutally dissected his sketch. You know? And I don't know if you heard the rest of the EP. You got a load of people jovially asking, what about the Beaker people? What about this, all the bits I didn't put in? So on the EP, I literally did 3 mixes in one Sunday night, right? Where I did the Beaker people, the Huguenots, and probably the finest moment in comedy ever for me, when he talks about, you know, being nostalgic about a time before the universe existed, which is just
It's bang on. It's bang on. But
That's so deep and hilarious as well.
Yeah. And more recently, you had the Broken Britain, did pretty well as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
To mention that one. I mean, that was really important for us because, you know, we're very proud of all the stuff on there. I mean, I think the compilation works beautifully, but there had to be something where the model, the ADF model, it's a community project. It was an educational project where we encouraged young Asians to come and comment on the state of their lives in Britain, and that had to be on this. So that Broken Britain was done before the British election with Chowaman, and it was the ADF model. We did it at Community Music, you know, which is where we began, and we got Chowa to write. I mean, he's a great hip hop artist, you know, but he developed, he kind of came into the ADF thing, put his own take on the ADF thing, you know. And we got a really cool track out of it, I think. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of, it was kind of on, you know, the election was coming up and the deadline for the album was coming out. So we've got to say something from 2024. If this is going to be if this is going to be something that says what we're about, we have to say something contemporary. So I was really happy. You know?
I think it spoke to a lot of people, definitely.
Yeah.
And
but the model still works. We believe anyway. That the model still works and can still produce. You know?
Well, we're doing this interview a day after the US election results. I mean, any comments?
Where do you start? I mean, there's so many aspects to it. I mean, it's very depressing. Spent all your life. I went on the Rock Against Racism march when I was 13, you know, and a person like this. But ultimately, there are larger forces which haven't been addressed, which have led to this. It led to Brexit here too.
Yeah, that's it. That's other fact.
Yeah. Well, what we've got is how can I say this without, I have to get a bit intellectual if you don't mind.
But that's what we like. We like it.
What it is there is a disconnect between culture and economics, right? In some ways, you could make the case that the right wing make the case for this, and I'm normally not making it like them. But, you know, in popular culture, it's more liberal, right? It's more liberal and is dominated by people who are not particularly racist. I mean, I have problems with it because it's largely a kind of upper middle class view of anti-racism and what have you. Okay, and class. I mean, I believe class is the main defining feature above beyond race and other things, you know. And I think that's where it's wrong because we've had people in culture. You could even include us in this, you know, who are anti-racist and, you know, anti-homophobia, rather. But the economics of society has gone the other way. We have more and more an ultra-capitalist economy. The two don't match, right? You can be as left-wing and liberal and what have you in the world of culture, but if you do not have the economic base to facilitate that, you're not good. You know, it just will not compute for people, you know? And then you've got a particular section of the capitalist class that will then blame the middle class culture thing as being the problem, while scooping up more and more money for themselves. That's Trump and Musk, right?
Yeah.
Basically, they blame the layer immediately below them, right? The EU, you know, the UN, human rights, the media, television, education, the universities, the kind of lower right? And they speak to the people at the bottom who have been, had a crap education, seen their wages go down, see their children not be able to get on the housing ladder, seeing, further education blocks, and they say, that Trump and Musk and Farage go, it's those people over there, the woke people, they're responsible for all this. You have this absurd conversation where Trump is doing an interview with Elon Musk. They're talking about, yes, the elites. You're against the elites.
Yeah. So the billionaires.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The 5 MPs that UKIP have, not including Lee, what's his face? Farage and the other 3 are all Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs. They're all finance capitalists, right?
Yeah.
And isn't it funny that the financial sector is the one that has not been harmed by Brexit, right?
Yeah.
Hasn't really done it. Like the manufacturing is right. And this is what it's all about. It's a particular sector of a capitalist class against another one, and you against the other one, the lower kind of like more institutional, liberal world of the media and, some companies, the tech companies, and educational institutions and the media and television and musicians too, are being, they're attacking the lower rung and they're using people right at the bottom to do it,
Yeah. Where do you see it? Where do you see it going in this country? How do you see it panning out?
I don't know, I mean,
is there a positive outcome? Can we change things?
I don't know. I think, okay, right. 2 rays of hope. 2 rays of hope. Yeah. One of a quite negative one, right? Perhaps it's less important. Perhaps it's more important to me. But I think the only good thing about Rishi Sunak was the fact that people had to stop talking about class differences in ethnic minorities. Right? Get back to that, right? Get rid of this identity politics, a lot of it, right? Which says that somehow it's really good. And funny, it wasn't like Barack Obama when he took over, was it? No one went around with all those big posters, Rishi Sunak, hope.
No.
So I would like to get back to a world where we start talking about class and economics, as being the root of the problem, rather than language or what have you. That stuff's important. Don't get me wrong. I think it is.
Yeah. No,
yeah. But really, class is the important thing. Now, the other ray of hope. Now, this is. You did ask.
Yeah. No. We did.
Okay.
Good.
In the 60s, right? White Americans and Britons, certain sections of the working class, were in a much better economic situation than they had been before the war. There was let's just talk about Britain for now. There was full employment, right? You and I are talking about music, right? Britain became a world music centre. Do you know what was behind the why Britain just exploded in music? There was a certain structural force. Do you know what it was?
Go on.
A bit of government policy. The expansion of the art schools.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The expansion of the art schools is basically the big structural reason. Also, English being spoken. So when Lennon and Jagger imported all those records, they could understand the words. That's that instant advantage too. But basically, there's a lot more opportunity for people from working class backgrounds, dropouts, to go to art school. In every British group, right, had an art student in it. You know that, in those things. Right. Basically, culture radically changed and new ideas came about because the economic situation, people had washing machines, people had private cars, they had access to healthcare, they had access to, to higher education, right? And from that different economic circumstance came a whole load of new ideas. We had a new feminism, we had an anti-racism, we articulated differently. We had the green ecology movement started in the late 60s, right? Yeah. There was an economic basis for new ideas. My 10-year-old son, and that generation, right, and I'm being really optimistic here, will have grown up in a world, will not know the world where there was not an internet. Right?
And I think you're
There
right.
was not
I
an
think you're
internet,
right.
where there was not this form of communication, right? Now, when they come of age, just like those in the 60s, where, you know, the generation gap in the 60s was unbelievable. They couldn't even talk to each other. That's why people like Bob Dylan and John Lennon were like lauded as heroes, even though they probably weren't worthy on it. And Dylan ran a mile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there were no other figures for young people to look to, right?
Yeah.
Nobody over the age of 30 understood what was going on. They couldn't speak, you know. The generation gap was so far because the economic circumstances, their experience. For the upper working class and middle class, white as well in general, in Britain anyway, was, you know, that had never happened before. That level of economic affluence, full employment and education, right? Whole loads of new ideas emerged. Why I'm saying the first truly digital generation, when they come of age, their brains are so rewired and different that I think
I agree.
new ideas that will be progressive, right?
But they haven't got the same economic landscape to go into, though. They're going into precarity and 0-hour contracts, and they haven't got that same kind of support network that existed back then, right?
That's true. Also in the 60s as well, I mean, you had a really conservative culture. You had the Vietnam War as well. You know, where people were actually going, in America, a lot of this class I'm talking about were going and getting killed, you know, so that's it. No, you're right about that. That does put I'm trying to be optimistic here.
Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, you would have been optimistic. It's my fault. Fuck, sorry.
No, you're absolutely right.
Bring it down.
They're coming into that, true, but the tools at their disposal and their means of communication will be so advanced compared to anybody over 35 and 40, I'd say. You know what I mean?
I always say that it's going to be the new generation that changes things. I'm the same. I think something positive will happen.
Yeah, well, I think my case is based on the idea that a radical shift in the economy, if you've grown up in it and you've known nothing else, right, will produce some new ideas, you know. I really
Let's hope so. Let's
Yeah.
hope so. Yeah. So you're doing like a 30th anniversary tour at the moment. You talked about it at the start. I mean, what's the plan for the next 30 years?
Oh my God. Well, listen, right, there was a meeting in 1994.
Yeah.
Dr. Das said, okay, we've got to face it that we're only going to last another 6 months. So,
In 94. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the Royal Festival thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Bearded Theory is the British festival.
Yeah.
Stuart Lee's going to be there too, so.
Is he?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Do you reckon he'll get on stage with you?
I can't say it.
It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. All right, we got one final question. Do you want to go in?
Kept you a really long time. We always ask each of our guests the same question. If you could have been in any other band at the time, sort of early 90s, late.
Why do you always say early 90s, Neil? Just say the 90s.
All right, the 90s. Then who would it be and why?
Okay, I have to be honest here, right? I think this is fair enough because they did cross into the early 90s.
Yeah.
But even though I'm not necessarily going to put forward their music as the best music, right? You asked me what I think I could have been in. Oh, there's a couple of groups, and there's one group that did ask me to join. Actually, one of my favourite groups ever. So that was Wire.
Wire?
Right.
Really?
They actually asked me to try out for them. I couldn't, obviously.
Yeah.
So I was actually asked to join one of my favourite groups ever. So
wow.
But I'll tell you what, the other thing I would like to have done, because you have to stop me. Right? Because I was brought up on classical sitar music and I love loud, droning electric guitars. I'll sit and play for hours, just one chord, all of the same note for hours, right? So I would have I would have loved to have been a band where that happened. And there were two groups where that happened. That was Loop and Spacemen 3, right?
Nice.
Right. Yeah.
Even
that's
if I
good.
mean, I'm not I think they did a few absolutely phenomenal tracks. I wouldn't say they were consistently great, but I remember I saw them in Birmingham, Spacemen 3, and they just put it was like 15 minutes of pure vibrato on one chord.
Yeah. No.
I still have an idea for a band in that mode. Actually.
Sure.
Yeah. That sounds good.
I would just like to be in a band, a drone rock band, and they were there's a bit of that in the 90s, wasn't there? But
And they had Sonic in the name as well. Sonic.
Yeah, absolutely. Sonic Boom. That's right.
You're halfway there.
Yeah, that's right. Under Sonic Boom. There you go. Yeah.
Yes. Down to Sonic Boom. It's the collaboration everyone's been waiting for. Come on.
I mean, it's a kind of self-indulgence on my part because I'm not sure how many other people like to just an open E chord being played for an hour.
You find out. I'm sure there's a market for it.
Well, it was with those guys, I guess. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And where's the best place for people to find you these days on social media and the like?
Well, the usual places. I mean, I'm very active on Twitter. Though I'm having second thoughts now, obviously, and Facebook. But you know, we're on all. I mean, X-Ray, our record company, do a good job on Instagram and the others. You know, so I'd say Facebook is the one where you'll see me personally interact with it a lot more.
Right, that's nice. Yeah,
and X, but I don't really want to advertise them in X Twitter, to be honest.
No,
we still call it Twitter. Just
fuck that guy. Yeah.
Just
All right, we'll let you go. Don't escape just yet. I'm going to stop the recording one moment. But thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Steve, aka Chandra Sonic, Asian Dub Foundation. Dave, you were the only one that couldn't be bothered to come along to that one. What do you think? No, that's not true. We didn't ask him.
No. Wasn't invited.
No, I mean, I have a more important analytical role, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You've
That's
got
true.
your role, and you're very good at it. And
Well, I just got to jump to the hilarious part when he starts singing the praises of Sid Barrett and Piper at the Gates of
I
Dawn.
thought you would.
Oh, I knew you'd pick up on that.
And now,
Luke even,
you know,
Luke
it's
even
gonna
picked
be-
him up on
Floyd.
it with the interview.
it's going to be a
Luke
big
even
snub if
replied.
it's not on the playlist, isn't it?
Oh, he will be one of the biggest.
Yeah,
But that was.
but I think he
enjoyed
was
that.
talking more about the guitar playing on that album than anything else, Dave.
He did say that all the fucking Lewis Carroll nonsense, as he described it, was shit, didn't he?
Yeah.
All that kind of
He liked
mouse in
it.
the house.
Well, I
and
think you
fucking,
said
no, he
that.
didn't. He said that. No. His words were the Lewis Carroll stuff were a load of fucking shit, and Dave's a knob. Was the
That's what he
exact
said.
quote he said.
He did say that, to be fair.
He did. No, all that kind of twee stuff. He said he didn't like, which is my problem with it, basically.
To be fair, it's a thumbs up for that period of Pink Floyd.
It was, which Dave likes as well. I know.
But it kind of ties in with what he was saying about how much he was loving sci-fi, and because that album
That was interesting, wasn't it?
very spacey, and the Bowie
Yeah.
was spacey, and
That's what he was saying, isn't it? But that was interesting what he was saying about it was the only place you could see black people in heroic positions. But I was watching sci-fi and stuff. I mean,
Watching Star Trek.
obviously we would never think about that, but
yeah, I never thought about
thought
it, but it was interesting, and
Mm.
I love sci-fi as well. Yeah, there was a. Have you seen that film by a black director and black actors that's sci-fi? Quite recently. Oh, what was it called? The same people that did Get Out. Have you seen that?
I've
You're
seen a bit
talking
of
about
Get Out.
Nope.
Yeah, Nope. I love Nope, and I love Get Out as well.
Get
that
Out's
was-
better, but yeah, they're both good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, imagine being a kid and you're just watching stuff because it's the only place that really represents what you are as something
Well, that's
positive.
what that's what people
Terrible.
said, like black kids in England growing up in even like the 80s, if they like a black person came on telly, they would like shout down, quick, come quick, there's a black person on telly, and everyone would go into the living room to have a look.
I remember a couple of years ago, people got all antsy because there was a black family in a Sainsbury's advert, and they were saying, no, they're just doing it to sort of satisfy
woke.
the lefties and that. It's just like,
Yeah.
fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. Isn't it?
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
But yeah, that is the madness of it all. But yeah, I found that quite interesting. Something I'd never really thought about. Because why would I, sort of thing?
He was such a good guest, wasn't he? So enthusiastic and fucking still full of energy and opinions and everything, man. It's brilliant.
Well, it's a little bit like the
Oh.
Terry Christian interview in the sense that you didn't have to say much to get him talking.
Yeah,
No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good orator. A good, what's it called? Troubadour. Is that right?
Troubadour. Yeah. Good troubadour.
No, it's not the right word.
No, it's not.
What's the word?
Raconteur.
Someone who tells stories. That's it. What's a troubadour then?
It's like a travelling musician. Are they for travelling troubadours?
He's
I don't know
that
if
as
they
well. He's a troubadour.
Yeah, sure.
But imagine not knowing who Mick Jagger or David Bowie was.
Right. But then again, you know, why would you if that's not part of the world you grew up in, right?
But that means you've never seen Dancing in the Street, that video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
That'd be terrible missing that.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to La Haine, or what do you say?
We didn't talk about it yet, but go on.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm taking us back to when he spoke about it. I'm sure it's La Haine. I'm sure it's just La Haine.
Oh, not in French, is it?
Or La
It's set in
Haine.
French. La Haine.
La Haine.
Didn't know you spoke the language.
What does it mean, La Haine?
It means the hate.
Yeah, that's right. We studied that as part of my course. At
You
uni.
should know then.
I
It's
should,
a brilliant film.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's just it's a really sort of gritty sort of about gangs in sort of France, isn't it?
And immigration in Paris. Yeah. Yeah.
What course? What course do you do?
Media studies.
Is that what you did at
Studied
uni?
media. Yeah.
Oh,
That's why he's a podcast leader.
yeah.
Well, I'm a media expert.
Yeah. There you go.
Without that degree, I wouldn't be where I am today.
It's
Mum and
true,
Dad.
though.
Yeah, but we studied that. It's a great film. Great film. So I would really like to go and watch that collaboration. I will try and get along to it.
Yeah, the whole drum and bass jungle thing.
Yes, I loved that part of it.
I didn't really think about the distinction before, but that was quite interesting.
Yeah. Gentrification of jungle. Drum and bass is a gentrification of jungle. That's perfect, man.
But to be honest, I mean, I like jungle, but I didn't really think there was that much to it. I mean, that's obviously going to sound insulting, but it's like very fast, so it's quite hard to distinguish the beat from one jungle song to another. But obviously, the song as a whole, they're very different.
I think people forget how big jungle was back in the 90s. Like he said, it's kind of been written out of history, but it was huge.
Yeah.
I liked a bit of jungle. It was good. My mate was well into jungle. DJ Hyper Vibe, he was called.
DJ
He was
Hyper
a
Vibe.
DJ.
Is that your friend?
Yeah, he was a DJ.
It's a good name.
He was well into his like happy hardcore and jungle. He's an amazing DJ. This was back in the day with records and stuff, And
They still exist, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, but when they were DJing with records.
Well, they do. But go on.
Some people do. But
I like those people on those fucking, I remember fucking 2021 documentaries. But
yeah, he was well into his happy hardcore and jungle and stuff.
Reggae and dub and everything's got an interesting history, hasn't it? You know what dub evolved from reggae?
No, go on.
It was just really fucking hot one year in Jamaica. And it was just too hot to dance that quickly. So they slowed it right down so people could still continue dancing, but not have to do it so quickly. And that's how dub came about.
There's that Jamaican joke, isn't there?
Yeah. Do tell us, Neil.
I've got a girlfriend who I can't remember. Got a girlfriend.
Dave, put him out with misery.
You're going to ask Jamaica.
Yeah, but you've got to do the whole joke.
Okay, Luke's the master of jokes.
My wife went to the West Indies.
Jamaica?
No, she went by herself. Although Dave, I remember back in the day, Dave made up a new version. My wife went to the Far East. No, wait.
He
I
did,
went
you're
I
right.
went looking for gold in the Far East.
Japan?
No, I just kind of just used a spade. This was your joke, Dave. I remember you came up with it.
Not sure I
That's
did.
quite good.
It's
I'll
good.
take it. I'll take it.
I'm giving you full credit, man. It's yours. I never forgot it.
It was. He seemed to sort of be a bit triggered when you asked him about what was more important, the politics or the music.
Yeah.
I think I understood what he meant. You know, that the politics is the music and it's not separate. The message is in the music, not separate.
Yeah.
But I think that makes
think
sense.
a lot of musicians feel the same. Yeah,
And like the
reminded
political
me-
stuff they put in the song, they're not saying it on the side, it's in the music.
It reminded me of what Joe from Wrong Speed Records said. He said just existing as an underground band is punk. It's just the fact, just the act of existing as an underground band in 2024, as it was, is punk rock. And that kind of reminded me of that. And I think he's right. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think if you're a musician and you explicitly try and say something political, you're just going to get hammered on, ignored, and sidelined. But if you put
Also,
in
I think there's
you can't ignore it.
Also, I think there's a racialized element. The idea that because you're an Asian band, you must be talking about politics, right? It's kind of your duty to represent, that kind of community, and that's a bullshit way to look at it, right? That kind of the burden of kind of representation is not good, But I thought it was really interesting, kind of gone for when he talked about like when they were kind of in playing like gigs to like part of the Asian underground, they were seen as like a techno band or whatever, or a jungle act, because people were focusing on that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then when they got in the NME, everyone said they're focusing on the guitar part of it. They didn't change their music. It's just that their own prejudices focusing on different aspects of what they were, right? That was super interesting.
I liked how he said that back in the day when he was buying music, he used to buy it based on the sounds because the music sounded spacey rather than the lyrical content. Maybe he just liked music that sounded a certain way. He came across as he's very sort of into his guitar sounds and stuff.
You're trying to get us back into Pink Floyd, aren't you, Sid Barrett?
Oh God, don't!
I wouldn't do that. But he did say when he was listening to Pink Floyd, it made him feel like you could go to space with your guitar, which linked back to his love of sci-fi and stuff. Which
that's right. He was talking about he wanted to be a writer, and then when he heard that, he realised he didn't have to be.
Yeah, that's when he realised that playing guitar could give him the same sort of buzz.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, do you buy records based on sound?
Well, depends on who it is, really. You don't buy Jean-Michel Jarre records on the lyrical content, do you?
No, or a Mogwai record.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or a Mogwai record.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends. Oh, yeah, yes, all music to a certain degree you're buying because of what it sounds like and not just because of the lyrics, are you?
I've always been more sound than lyrics.
I think I have, yeah. I think most people are really.
That's why I like Oasis.
Well,
the lyrics
that is probably that's a good example, I guess.
But that brings us on to the Britpop comments, doesn't it?
Yes.
Which, we all like Britpop, don't we? But I couldn't help agreeing with him at the same time.
Oh, yeah. It's because we've come at Britpop from a white middle class angle again. That's why.
Yeah.
It's
true.
He's totally right, isn't he? It was regressive.
He's totally right.
Really.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And just think of what had been building up, right? Like acid house, and then like into like
you had all these innovative
bass,
scenes.
all this like
exactly
like doing amazing stuff, and then suddenly there's a whole stop on it.
Yeah, regardless of the cultural thing. Yeah, just in terms of musically, just really sort of stops all the progress and just went back to the 60s.
But we talk about this, the 30 years and whatnot, and when we
I
our
guess
parents.
that was the echo.
Yeah, maybe it's because we actually quite liked our parents, and we were interested in what they were listening to back in the 60s. I remember really sort of idealizing the 60s and really wishing I could go back there and experience it.
Yeah, my dad went to see the Beatles a few times, and that was always quite cool for me. And I remember Luke's dad was always really into his music.
He
and
was. Beatles and Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I associated Britpop with the 60s very much.
No, I don't think
I
did.
did
But
go
maybe
out and listen to like the
subconsciously.
Small Faces and the Kinks and stuff, but I don't know. I didn't see the link in my mind. This was new music to me.
Yeah.
Now I
But
can
it
see it, of
wasn't, though,
course,
was
but
it?
I don't know.
I totally see his point, though.
Yeah,
White
I do
guys
as well.
with
And also,
guitars, wasn't it?
yeah, and it became about other things when it became mainstream. Like it became not about music. It became about the haircut or the fucking model girlfriend or whatever, right? And it became a nonsense. And
Yeah,
he's
I
right.
love what he said. He
Yeah.
said that they were Britpop. He said that we are the summation of the British musical experience.
Yes,
I thought that was a great line.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
we
doing
are the real
new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they were young British people making music, right?
Yeah. Apparently they used to have stickers that said "Jungle Punk is the real Britpop," and like hand them out at gigs and stuff, which is cool, right?
Yeah, I don't even think, like I say, part of it's the cultural thing, but it's not even that, is it? Musically, he was saying it was just what they were doing was much cooler stuff, you know.
It was more innovative.
Yeah, and especially there was, like you said, jungle was like tearing up the playgrounds and the clubs, but the media was just focusing on the anodyne, bland kind of white guitar version, right?
Yeah, I guess if Britpop hadn't come around, then the whole jungle scene would have been the predominant scene.
Yeah, well, it was for a lot of people.
I mean, it was big, but it was pushed underground by Britpop, I guess, wasn't it? Who knows? I mean, I know Ronnie Size. He was massive at the time. That album everyone had it at uni, didn't they?
Mercury Music Prize. But I get, but yeah, his is deaf. Well, he was a cool guy, I guess. But yeah, like I said in the interview, it became like a coffee table fucking album, didn't it? That.
Yeah, it's a bit Goldie
album
as well, wasn't it? He was similar sort of. But yeah,
really diluted. Yeah.
That does sort of reframe the whole Britpop thing, because I know that Britpop does get a bit of a backlash, and I always thought, I don't know why, I thought it was really good, but you know, he explained it better than most people have.
Yeah, it didn't, like he said, it didn't move culture forward, basically.
No,
which is what we should always be doing, right, at all times.
I went back and listened to that PKNB on Steve's recommendation. That's really good, that, isn't it? And really it's good. So, like you said, it's so relevant now. It's just about immigration, and obviously that's topical at the moment. And
and there's lots of lines in it about, you know, most immigrants are white, basically. They're like, you know, Europeans and stuff like that, and you know, just all these myths about immigration. They kind of diffuse in the song. It's really cool.
Yeah. I always think, I wonder what would happen if you played that to sort of, I don't know, the Farages and that. Do you think they just ignore it, or do you think it would educate them?
Nothing would educate them.
Do you think?
Did you rewatch the Stuart Lee sketch?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I've always loved that sketch. I've
seen it many times.
I watch that periodically anyway because it's just brilliant. Do you reckon Farage has seen that? Just be embarrassing, wouldn't it?
You couldn't. If you were him, you couldn't watch it. It would just be too hard to watch, I think.
It's unembarrassable.
Do you think? Do you not think anything would ever change there? No, probably not.
Especially when there's money to be made from it, like now.
If you played, all right, so maybe not Farage, but maybe the people that are into Farage and stuff. Do you think if you played them like that tune, RKMB, do you think that would not change their opinion on
woke leftist nonsense?
No, I think it would. It wouldn't change everyone's opinion, but I think it would. It could change a few. You know, it's a sliding scale. Because you just watch that, and it's just so brilliant how
The Stuart Lee sketch.
absurd he makes it by going back and back and back in time and back to the fish coming on land and stealing our land and stuff.
Yeah. It is brilliant. Yeah, it was a great collaboration when they did that.
Yeah, although you kept calling it a collab in that interview. It was so weird. Is that? I thought it was me. I thought, is that like a proper word nowadays? Is it me?
I've only just started doing it, but now I can't
think
stop.
it is a word. Collab.
Collab.
Collab. It's an abbreviation of collaboration. Well,
but it's
no,
not.
it's a collab.
It's not. It's neither. Neither of them are proper one. They're not
Maybe I'm the
accepted
only one.
forms.
I thought that's what people said, so I've been saying it.
Dave, to me, it sounded mental.
You hear the word collab all the time because the modern artists are doing it non-stop.
See?
Collabing.
Maybe it hasn't reached Japan.
Like Charlie XCX's last album is pure collabs.
Collabs.
Yeah.
You're really down with the kids, Dave.
Yeah, man.
What about me? I'm the one saying it.
No, you were saying it weirdly. Like some words are like, exam is a normal form of examination. Examination is a weird word now, right? Because exam is normal. But collab hasn't reached that point.
Hasn't reached Tokyo yet.
Well, hasn't reached anywhere.
It's always got to be innovators. People have got to do it. And I'm an innovator.
You're right, man. You're pushing it forward.
Yeah. So I went back and had a listen to Free Zappa Around because I used to play it all the time when I was at uni. Yeah, it's brilliant. And it does sound a bit of kind of Rage Against the Machine. Kind of. But with an English accent. It's not quite Rage Against the Machine, but I can see where, because they did get compared to Rage Against the Machine lazily, didn't they? But that song, I can kind of get it a little bit. But it's a great song.
It's an angry
loads
song,
of energy.
It's great.
To that song. Well, most of their music, I like the energy behind it. It's good.
Were you listening to the Primal Scream collab?
No, I don't think I was. Were you?
Yeah, I was actually, but I just wanted to use the word collab.
Did you listen to the Sinead O'Connor collab?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That album's all collabs, isn't it?
It's really good, right? That collab album.
Yeah.
Collab album.
Well, just at the end, all the stuff about politics, I really enjoyed all that, basically. And I mean, he's completely right. We need to focus on the economic inequalities and social class inequalities before getting caught up in the culture war nonsense. And he's.
But me and Dave were both talking about this the other day, I think, because Dave's son had his mates round. But I'm the same. I think there is hope in the next generation. They're so estranged from us, really, in their ideas and beliefs and their understanding of technology and stuff. Their whole outlook on life is completely different.
In what way?
Like their take on politics and stuff. They don't really get that involved in politics at the moment, I don't think, because it's become so, what's the point? Because it's just nonsense, isn't it? And they see that it's just nonsense. But that's
depressing, right? Because
it is depressing, but I think that will change. But their use of technology and social media, it's very different to the way we use it. They know how to use it, right? And they know what's dangerous about it and what it can be used for good and stuff. But we don't really understand it. We just sort of, but they're at the forefront of that technology, and they'll use that for good, I think.
I'm optimistic too. They're just nicer.
Yeah, they're nicer.
I mean, I have a small sample of the people I know.
No, but I think that's true. Like I talk to my nieces about, we've had conversations about just topical stuff in the news, like, I don't know, transgender and all that sort of thing. And for them, it's not a thing. It's like people at school are what they are, and it's not, they don't care. They're not bothered. It's just, it is what it is, and they don't get involved in the nonsense behind it.
It's interesting. I don't know about in the UK. In America, there's a huge gender disparity in the voting demographics, right?
Right.
So young men vote right, and young women vote left.
I heard that there's a lot more young men voting right wing, that's scary.
I think people are just very confused.
Yeah, I think so.
well, there's that quote, isn't there? When you're used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Right. So if there's any kind of tipping of the scales towards any kind of equality, then you feel like you're being hard done by, right? And it's nonsense, you know.
Yeah, but I do feel like there's people, the youngsters that have grown up on social media and all that sort of technology. I think that they know how to use it properly, whereas we don't.
I think, well, it's not us. It's the generation above us that's been radicalized by social media. I read a thing about it the other day, actually. And there's, now, like,
but they just believe everything that they read.
Whereas youngsters
are just like, well, this is bollocks. That's not true. So
and we're Generation X, so we don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
it's the generation above us that doesn't have that kind of. And I think we just don't care.
Yeah, so I think that is cause for optimism that the young generation will.
Well, let's see, man. But like he said, for that kind of progressive politics to prevail, you need a solid economic foundation where people have enough money to not, to live and to be comfortable enough to care about progressive ideas. Which, like he said,
let's end this episode on some optimism. We'll say the next generation gonna sort out the mess that we've left them in.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for this one. Thanks, Steve, for coming on. If you are watching this, then please do subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of new subscribers last week, so thanks. And then get involved in the comments and give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you're listening, then please do rate and review and share it with your friends so that they can find the podcast. And remember, you can now sponsor the podcast. Email us, Stupid and Contagious Podcast @gmail.com. If you're a band, person, record label, send us an email and we'll give you a mention at the start of the podcast. So there you go.
If you're new to the podcast, if you're a new subscriber, welcome aboard. Good to have you. There's over 70 odd episodes to dig into. So have a look back to the archives. I'm sure you'll find something you like. Also, if you weren't aware, I do a mixtape for each episode of music from that artist and whatever music we talk about and they talk about on there. So have a look at that as well. The best way to find it is using Dave's app. So you can just switch between the YouTube and the Spotify with a single click. And I probably won't be any Pink Floyd on it though. Although I might have to just out of respect for Steve. I might have to. All right. I mean, it pains me to do it, but it would be disrespectful to leave it off. So all right. Well,
you're gonna have to.
Yeah,
it's fine. That's it for this one. Join us next week for episode 76 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. Dave,
see you in a minute.